If I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, maybe when I was in my 20s or 30s, there would be 7 key points that I would desperately try to get across to younger me that, if I'd have known back then, would have made a huge difference to just how quickly I became financially free. And by the way, you might be surprised to hear that only one of these 7 points has anything to do with property. The first is the importance of becoming a lifelong learner when it comes to finance and investing. And you can't do this by chance. You have to actually book time into your diary every week, maybe 2 or 3 hours, where you're going to go off into a quiet space and just educate yourself on anything and everything to do with finance. And to be honest, I would simply start with books. Go and read the classics. Go and read Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The One Thing, and perhaps my favourite of them all, though I'm always embarrassed to share it, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Sorry, that is just a brilliant business book. These alone will honestly change the direction of your life if you book that time in each week to go and educate yourself. The second thing is that I wish I'd known back then is the importance of pacing yourself. Because this isn't a race. You can do this over a period of time. And if you're in your 20s or 30s, time is on your side. Your aim, though, is to build substantial wealth over the long term. And that means thinking over the long term. It means investing over the long term. This is never going to be a get-rich-quick type attitude that you should be having. And so perhaps that takes a bit of a mindset shift. The third thing I wish I'd known back then is the importance of starting a business. But it must be a business where you yourself are not exchanging your time for money. You shouldn't be doing the day-to-day work at all after the initial setup. Yes, initially you're going to be doing literally everything, but after you've got that out of the way, you shouldn't really be doing the day-to-day work at all. And by the way, you can start a new business yourself by working in the day job. Maybe you look at drop shipping or digital products or online courses or maybe a niche product or service. Honestly, there are thousands of really good business ideas out there that work in 2023. You've just got to Google them. Choose one and get started part-time. But always remember the golden rule. After the initial setup, this business needs to run without you doing the physical work. By the way, if you find this video helpful, it would just be awesome if you could click on that subscribe and bell button. It really helps my channel, if that's okay. The fourth thing I wish I'd known back in my 20s and 30s is the importance of starting to invest in property. And start small. Just buy one property a year. Remember, it's not a race. You have time on your side, but make that first investment property a conventional buy-to-let, where you're going to do all of your learning to do with property investing. But you really must aim to do deals where you can put your money in, do something to the property, and then pull all or most of your cash back out of the deal within a year, so you can use that money to go and do the next deal. And by the way, investment property number 3 and number 4, you should be buying for cash flow. 2 really quick tips here when it comes to property investing. First is, whenever you look at any kind of property investment, ask yourself a question. Would you still buy this house if it never went up in value? And that gives you real focus on cash flow. The second thing is, you've got to make sure that you're tax efficient. The government are doing everything they can at the moment to take money out of property investors' bank accounts. So you've got to speak to a property savvy accountant and make sure you're doing all you can to stay on the right side of tax. And by the way, if you'd like any help with anything to do with property investing, there's a link in the description box below. Book a call with me. I'll be delighted to help. The fifth thing I wish I'd known back then is the importance of learning to joint venture. Learning to joint venture with other people, especially when it comes to property investing. JVing is essential if you want to grow a property portfolio really, really quickly and have limited funds. You need to get simply good at finding great deals. That's what you're going to be bringing to the table, and then work with other people who have got money in the bank that just want a better return on that money. But don't trust people easily. I think this is so important, and believe me, I've had my fingers burnt over the years. You've got to be really choosy about who you JV with. And always remember this, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. As soon as you can, start investing regularly in small amounts into ETFs via an ISA. Goodness me, I wish I'd known that back in my 20s or 30s, because the awesome power of compounding will mean that now in my 40s and 50s, or in my case, 57, I'd have had a huge sum of money if back in my 20s and 30s I started putting regular amounts of money into an ISA by investing in ETFs. I personally do, I sell options, but don't worry about that. Just go and look at investing in ETFs. It's obviously really, really important that you choose the right ETFs, and so you have to do your research. This comes down to the educational bit now. I now personally invest really heavily in ETFs, and I'm delighted that I do so now. I just wish I'd started back in my 20s and 30s. Point number 7, you have to generate active curiosity when it comes to money. But you want to combine this with active skepticism. Don't automatically believe anyone you see on social media or YouTube, including me, just because I say something is correct. You've got to go out of your way to do your due diligence. Keep an open, active mind, hear what's being talked about, and then go out of your way to do your own due diligence. Because when it comes to money, there's some very, very convincing sharks out there that will do everything they can to take their money from you. Instead, nurture an open and active mind when it comes to finances, but always, as I say, do full due diligence on any investments or people before you start working with them. Now, if you like this video, it would just be awesome if you click on that thumbs up button. It really helps my channel if that's okay. And check out this video here, which will teach you exactly how I think you should be investing in 2023. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.